Rajkumar Desai, where are you right now? What's happening?
I'm in Kathmandu. I'm doing bungee jumping.
So how are you feeling?
I'm feeling very excited.
So anything else?
I just want to tell my mom I'm okay. So go ahead.
Welcome everyone. My name is Harish Kumar Topanavar. To promote entrepreneurship, startups, and innovation in Belgavi, KNN team has come up with a new initiative called Innovate Belgavi Startup Talks. I hope you have seen our previous videos where we have covered tech entrepreneurs from Belgavi who are contributing to the economic growth of Belgavi. So today we have with us Ms. Mishana Khoth, who is the founder and CEO of the Great Next, a platform where people can explore adventure travel. Right? Hi, Mishana. Welcome to the program.
Hi Harish, thank you for having me. Very excited to be here today.
Okay. So, on behalf of KNN team and our editor-in-chief, Mr. Rajiv Topanavar, I welcome you to the program.
Thank you so much. Let's get
Yeah,
started.
yeah. So, Mishana, could you please let us know more about your startup journey?
Sure. So I grew up in Belgaum and went to school in St. Joseph's, but I moved to
Okay.
Bombay for my junior college, and I've been here ever since. And after almost 15 years of working in digital ad agencies, we decided to start up an adventure travel company. I think any startup journey begins with noticing a gap in the market, and
Yeah.
about 5 or 6 years back, India was just getting started on our to discover adventure travel, and to start doing trips that are different from the usual package holidays. And my partners and myself, we've traveled quite a bit, and we've done quite a bit of adventure and offbeat travel, both with our families independently after coming to Bombay. So we ended up being the source of reference or suggestions for a lot of our friends. So we realized that there's a need for something like this, and it was only in 2015 that we decided to formalize it
Oh,
and to
okay.
set up the Great Next. So we've been operating since then, and it's been a great journey. There are a lot of adventure travel companies now,
Okay.
but when we started, there were far fewer, and so we've made some great friends along the way, made a lot of interesting contacts, been to great places, done a
Okay.
bit of adventure travel of our own as well. So that's it in a nutshell.
Okay. So, Mishana, what basically you do as an adventure travel company? So, what services you give actually to the customers?
So there are two types of adventure travel company. So one is an operator. If you suppose you want to go scuba diving in the Andamans or trekking in the Himalayas, you can talk to an operator directly, and they're the ones who will organize your team, your crew, your tents, your sleeping bags. They'll guide you on the route. They'll send you guides and porters. This is in India, and basically take care of your trip end to end. But what we do is not that. We don't actually execute the trip. So we are more like an aggregator, or you could say
Okay.
it's like so we list operators from different parts of the country. And in the last
Okay.
2 years, we've also been listing Bali, Nepal, Thailand,
Oh, okay.
trips from there as well. And so
Ah,
we give customers a chance to view a range of trips, see what suits their budget. We help them to compare different offerings from different operators, and if needed, you can book it online. But if needed, we also have a sales team and a customer service team who
okay.
will call you. Like a lot of people are traveling, doing adventure for the first time, so they're a bit wary.
Yeah.
You might be taking your kids or your friends or your partner or your parents, even in some cases. So you want to know if it's suitable for a certain level of fitness, for a certain age. So then our customer service team will talk to you, guide you through it, tell you which is the best operator to go with,
Okay.
and what's the best time to go. So that is essentially the service that we offer.
Okay. So you do it online. What platforms you work on
We have a
this?
website where all our trips are listed,
Okay.
thegreatnext.com, and we put up a lot of updates and a lot of photos on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You'll find all of them under
Okay.
the handle The Great Next. So
Okay.
we get a lot of customers who come in because obviously photos and videos do really well. You get a sense of the place
Okay.
that you're going to,
True.
and you know that there are certain locations like in the Himalayas. If you go in March or if you go in January or December, it's a very different experience. There's snow and there's no leaves on the trees, and the weather is different. So through the videos, you get a sense of whether it's the kind of holiday that you want to do or the kind of adventure sport that you want to do. So we try and do a lot of digital, but
Okay.
as you know, in India, we like to talk to a person. We like to have a real connection with
Yes.
someone who's selling us
Yes.
the trip. So we had a big sales team who
Okay.
did a lot of calls, and then you can have payments either through EMI or through one-time payments, which is collected online.
Okay. Okay. And do you have any app for this, or
No, we don't
do
have
you
an
have
app
any?
yet. That's our
Okay. Okay.
5-year plan right now. The website
Okay.
took
Okay.
a long enough time to build, and we don't. An
Uh-huh.
app is usually used for someone who is returning to use the service multiple times, maybe a month.
Okay.
But for adventure travel, usually you don't plan it. You plan it once or twice a year. A long adventure trip. A lot of people in
Okay.
Bombay, where I live, will do weekend trips, but you don't need
Okay.
an app for that.
Okay. 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 And Mishana, what motivated you to start your company
Um,
as an entrepreneur?
I think any startup entrepreneur that you ask, they'll say it is something. We noticed a gap in the market,
Okay.
and we realized that there was something that we could do to fill that. Or they would say that this is something I believe in 100%, and I see that there needs to be a certain service, or there needs to be some expert who can guide you through this. So whether you talk to a tech entrepreneur or a services entrepreneur or someone like us, it was a combination of noticing a big gap and just knowing that we were the right people to fill it. And over the years, startups are not an easy journey, but over the years,
Yeah.
that's been validated for us many times over.
Okay. Okay. And what were the challenges for you in this industry?
So there are multiple. Being a startup in India, there are many challenges. Being a startup anywhere, I guess, would be many challenges. In India, when we started, and even now, the adventure travel space is very niche. It's a small percentage of the audience of travelers, Indian travelers, who choose adventure travel. And even if they do, they might do it once a year, not as frequently as maybe someone from Norway, or even in China there's a lot of adventure travel. So there are countries around the world where the adventure market is far more developed than us, but
Okay.
getting people to see that adventure travel doesn't always mean roughing it or sleeping in tents or doing something that makes you uncomfortable. It can also be a
Okay.
very pleasant experience. It can also be just a getaway, we just a escape from the city. It could be a one night camping trip, close to
Yeah.
Bombay or Pune or Belgaum. So to get people to see that adventure travel is for everyone, that was a bit of a challenge in the start. Now we're seeing that people are coming forward and asking for options a lot more. So in just 5 years, there's already been a change. Another challenge I think that we faced is having me and my partners, we come from a very digital background. We're very comfortable doing anything online, but so we did expect that our customers would be able to be comfortable to book online, but we had to build a sales team very quickly, like a large team to call
True.
customers, to guide them through that. So that within 1 year we had to go from 2 salespeople to 20 salespeople
Oh,
to
great.
answer calls.
Okay.
So that
Okay.
that was a challenge that we didn't expect.
Uh,
And of course, the biggest challenge right now that we are facing is COVID-19. As you know, COVID-19 has completely swept away businesses. Many of the operators that we work with have gone under. They're not operating anymore. And
okay.
adventure travel is the first, casualty in COVID, any kind of travel. So we are just recouping from that at the moment.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So, Mishana, this industry is a male-dominated industry. So, how come you got into this industry, and what motivated you to get into this industry,
Harish, you'll be
adventure travel?
surprised. Almost anything in India, if you look at it, it's male dominated. There is just the population is leans in that way. But adventure travel is not. We get a lot of women customers who come and ask for trips. They do solo trips. Many of them ask us to talk to their parents. We get a lot of parents of boys also who ask us, just assure my mother that I'm not going to get pneumonia in the mountains. We've had parents come in worried about their sons or their daughters. So we have a lot of women
Okay.
customers. It is largely still very heavily male, but the percentage of women traveling for adventure is surprising. I mean, Indian women are fit, they're adventurous, they're earning more, they're earning more than they used to. They're a lot more independent. Whether you look at big cities or small cities, they're working, they know, they're exposed, like they're looking at the internet, they're looking at Instagram, they're watching movies, and they want
Okay.
to experience, all that this country has to offer and what other countries have to offer as well. So we do have a large women customer base. The
Okay.
on the business side, yes, it is largely
Okay.
male dominated.
Yeah.
We do have some companies that are run by women or which have women partners, but most of them are men. But being a woman should never, I don't think it should ever hold you back.
Yeah.
It's something that you grow up with, like when you it's something that your parents put into you, that if you're a woman you can't do this or you shouldn't do certain things. I don't think I've ever been a very ladylike little girl. I've always liked to get
Okay.
muddy and play and climb trees and run about. So adventure travel came very naturally to me.
Okay.
And I've not faced any discrimination as such in being a woman in a male
Okay.
dominated industry. It's been a good experience so far.
Great. Nice to hear your startup journey, Shana. So, how were your initial days when you started this company?
um,
In terms of getting the talents or staffing your company, or getting financial help from the funding agencies. So what were your initial few days? How were your initial few days?
So we are a bootstrapped company. So we have reached out a few times. We have done some investor meetings, but we prefer to focus on building the business rather than trying to get the funding in at the beginning. I would say the first year we were just focused on just running the business, getting it up and off the ground. We worked from our own home for a very long time, and we worked around the dining table. We had our first 2 or 3
Okay.
recruits were working on the sofa, on the floor, on the
Okay.
kitchen, like in the bedroom. They were just sitting around and running laptop cables everywhere. So we did
Okay.
that mostly because we were startup. You don't want to waste bootstrap money on
Good.
renting an office. But once we grew to a size that required an office, we moved into a terrible building in Bombay. It was definitely an illegal building. We had our first office over there, and it was extremely challenging to go to work in a building like that every day. But when you're running your own company and you are your own boss, you the enthusiasm carries you a long way. It takes you very far, and you end up working long hours. You end up thinking about your company on your on your days off, on your Sundays, on your weekends. So it was and I think that's not just the early days. That's also been in the last 5-6 years. That's been what we've experienced as well.
Okay, it's a roller coasters ride, you mean to say?
Yes, you could say that. Yes.
Okay, okay. And what is the most challenging initiative you are working now, and so how have you planned on achieving it?
Our biggest challenge so far, I would have to say, has been COVID. We did not, when you run a business, you plan for all kind of eventualities. You plan, you have a buffer, you have certain savings, you know what's going to happen in an emergency. And especially with adventure travel, there are risks associated with it. So you do have plans in place for that, but nobody could have foreseen COVID-19 hitting us the way it did, or hitting the world the way it did. So that is our biggest challenge. We had an office, we had a staff of about 20 people. We had a extensive freelance roster for content creation, social media. The COVID in March, when it hit, we shut down the office immediately. We didn't want to endanger our staff, to ask them to come in. And after that, we subsequently we had let go of the rental office that we had and shut down the office, and wait to see what the developments would be. But now, as travel picks up and people are vaccinated, we are trying to chart a way forward, and that's been our biggest challenge right now, is trying to predict what is going to happen with India and the world in the coming years. I think I read a McKinsey report in 2020 that said most travel industries have been set back about 3 years, and I would say that's true in our case. So everything that we've achieved in the last 3 years more or less has been undone, and we are trying to figure out a way to get back to the level we were just before COVID without putting in another 3 years, before we reach that level. So that is something that we're trying to figure out.
Mishara, now I think the industry is recovering and almost all the businesses are on track, and they are on the same level like as they were
Yes.
before pandemic, right?
Yes.
So what are your next investment or expansion or growth plans? As you are also recovering from the pandemic thing. So what
Sure.
are your growth
So
plans?
one of the things that we had slated for 2020 was, we had worked for almost 6 months on building a new website with very extensive SEO capabilities, so that we wouldn't have to spend money on marketing. We'd rather get customers in through search engine optimization, and we had a agency consulting us to to chart us through that part, because SEO is quite complicated. Our website was launched in April 2020, after the market had completely shut down, and when it was completely over. So we've had some time to work on the glitches, to fix them, and the new website is up, but there's a lot that we want to do, which we put on hold for all of 2020. So getting our content and our website and our SEO back on track, that's a big plan for us. Building a team back, that's something that we have to do as soon as possible. The travel industry has not picked up as fast as we hoped, because obviously there are still different, there's always a scare of another lockdown or another Delta variant coming in. So we are waiting that out, and making our plans on the side, to build our team back again. And we would like to expand into different markets. Like there are many Indian travelers who would like to try adventure travel abroad. So right now we offer Bali, Thailand, and Nepal, but we would like to offer different destinations as well. So we will be starting that going forward. That's something that we're looking at.
Okay. So, how about on the investment front? Are you looking for new investments from other funding agencies, or?
Yes, we are all. Every startup is always looking for investment. Anything counts. So we are looking for that, but we are not actively presenting or talking to investors at the moment. It is a difficult time for investors to see any kind of growth right now in the travel industry. So I feel like maybe by the end of this year we'll start officially meeting people. Right now we are just focused on licking our wounds and getting better ourselves. That's what we want to do.
Great. So, Mishana, what are your hiring plans for the next couple of months, and are you facing what challenges you are facing in terms of staffing your firm?
So I think the biggest change that will come for professionals from the COVID-19 pandemic is the work from home plan. That is something that we're going to have to deal with. It's completely changed the way offices or corporate brands work. And one of the things that one of our strengths was having a very strong customer service team that was in-house, that learned from each other. We had a very young team. Everyone was in their early 20s. So me and my partners were the oldest ones in office. So we had a lot of training to do. We had a lot of on-ground hand-holding before the team was ready to field calls from customers. So that is something that we're going to have to contend with going forward. Like we will probably have to do a large work from home or remote working hiring plan. So we're going to have to figure out training through Zoom calls or manuals or things like that. So that is one of the challenges that we are foreseeing for the coming year, 2 years. And but we do want to get our customer service team back on track. So that is something that we will be looking at. We've shrunk a lot in size in terms of customer service. So that is something that we need to get back again.
Yeah. So, what is the hardest decision you have made so far?
Closing down our office in March. That I think there are many things that you get angry about or you're frustrated with as a startup company, but shutting down an office that we have built, we had everything. We've you get an empty space, and you furnish it not just with tables and chairs, but you furnish it with your hopes and dreams, from everything from the photos on the wall and the posters that you put up to inspire the team, to the kind of coffee machine and the kind of water bottles that you buy for your team. Everything comes in with so much love and care when you're a small company. And letting the team go, we were quite a close knit team. We enjoyed each other's company. On Fridays we used to go out for a drink together. On team meetings, birthdays used to be celebrated. Any small achievement used to be, so we were like a family in many ways. Shutting down the office meant losing that connection with our team, and letting go of people when times were so difficult and so unpredictable and very vulnerable for many people, earnings wise. And to let go of that team, that was very hard for us to do. I don't think we'll have to, I hope we will not have to face something so hard ever again.
True.
So that was the hardest thing. And
Okay.
in the months after that, we did see a lot of travel companies who had to do the same with their own staff, and we saw a lot of other companies that had to do the same. And so it didn't make us feel better, but we knew we had not made any missteps at that point.
Okay. So, Mishana, how is the adventure travel market growing in India?
It is still niche. It is still a small market, but obviously with a population of our size, even a small percent of people is a very large number for an adventure travel company. We have seen a lot of changes in the last 5 years. We have seen that people are much more adventurous. They are willing to travel to more remote places. They do have an understanding of what adventure travel entails. So we are seeing a boom coming, but maybe it's been held back a little bit in the last year or so. But we do see that it's going to get a lot bigger in the coming years. People just want something to do more than just the regular destinations.
Okay. How is the market post-pandemic? After the second wave?
The second wave, I think, scared everyone quite a bit. Between the two lockdowns, we saw travel pick up quite well.
Yeah.
But once the second lockdown happened, I think the number of mortalities frightened many people. The vaccination rollout, as you know, was a little bit fraught with problems in the beginning in India. So people didn't get their vaccines at the time they hoped they did. So that, and the second vaccine, obviously, that the gap between the two has delayed everyone's travel plans. In a way that has benefited the Indian travel scene, because many countries, if you were planning a holiday abroad before the pandemic, you couldn't go to these countries, so you started exploring India a little bit more. So that has benefited, but in many ways you can't really travel far. People still don't want to take flights, or they don't want to travel for a long time in public transport, so you end up doing trips around your city or the place that you stay in. So for us, that has meant a lot more weekend trips, villa bookings or places that are close to home. Maybe people don't want to go for treks where they have to interact with strangers. So those are some things that we want to we'll be addressing in the coming years.
Okay. So, Mishana, being from Belgavi, you have taken a great step, to open your own firm, right? That too into a adventure travel advisory domain. So, what suggestion or advice do you give for women entrepreneurs from Belgavi who don't take much initiative like this, right? So what suggestion you want to give them, or what motivation you want to give them?
I would disagree. I think Belgaum has many women entrepreneurs who are doing very exciting things, very offbeat things. I think in many ways women have a more open mind and see that you don't have to go the conventional routes to set up a business. They're more creative. They do network in much more sincere or genuine ways. I would say they reach out to their own list of contacts. They obviously communicate a lot more openly with their friends. So I feel like that helps women entrepreneurs. I would say if you have an idea, or if you feel like you could do something, or you are an expert in a certain field and you would like to set up a business, don't let the fact that you are a woman entrepreneur hold you back. Like if you want to be an entrepreneur, your gender should not matter. You should reach out to people. There are facilities that are in place to help you. Reach out to your contact list, network a little bit, ask people for help. But you just go ahead and do it, and it may fail or it may not. But as an entrepreneur, you can't be afraid of failure. You have to be able to take that gamble and take that risk, and run with the wolves in that sense.
Okay. So, Mishanu, you have authored few books. Could you please let us know more about your books?
Sure. So I am a content writer by education, a writer by education, a content writer by profession. Writing has always come very easy to me. And I used to joke and say it's the only talent I have. I can't sing, I can't dance, but I can write, and I find a lot of peace and happiness in writing. I'm also a very voracious reader, and I think I've realized that books give the kind of joy that books can bring. Nothing really beats it. When you're sitting alone and you can read a book quietly and just travel into a different world. You don't need to have an adventure company or a travel company to get away somewhere special. So I think, like, ever since I was 9 years old, I've been writing stories in my school books at the back of my fair book in school. And in the last few years, apart from running the adventure travel company, I decided to publish my books as well. So I've just released my fourth book. The two of the books, the latest two, are about growing up in Belgaum, actually. I felt that, we have many books talking about hostel life in an IIT or an IIM college. We have many books about working in a city in Bombay or like in a big city, but I wanted to go back to the charm and the simplicity of Malgudi days or a Ruskin Bond, where there is so much warmth and so much pleasure and so much joy in life in a small town. And I couldn't think of a better place than Belgaum. And back in the 90s, when I was growing up with my siblings, and I grew up in Fort, which is not even in the city. It's away from Belgaum city. So we had a very offbeat childhood. When I was a kid, I thought it was just normal. Like, a lot of my friends were growing up in the same setup. But when I came to Bombay and I told some of the stories of my childhood, I realized people don't know what it means to have a childhood without TVs and without watching TV all day, or being in an apartment, or not having a garden, or not having pets. So I decided to write stories about that. So the books that I've written are they have, the main characters are children, but a lot of adult readers have read it and said, wow, we really, it reminds us of our childhood when there was no cell phones and no YouTube and no devices. Kids didn't know what a cell phone was, or nobody knew what a cell phone was back then. You played in the mud, you played with your pets, you climbed trees, you flew a kite, and you got joy from that. And the books were about that. They're very funny stories. I've kept it very entertaining, very light. When you're writing for kids, something has to be happening all the time. You can't have paragraphs and paragraphs of philosophy. So it's a very eventful book. There's always, every paragraph, there's something happening. There's some horrible prank that the kids are playing on each other, and the adults are just going crazy. So children are loving it. They keep coming back and saying that it's hilarious. I've had reviews from parents who are saying, my daughter is sitting quietly in her room without touching the TV or the cell phone or looking at any videos, and she's just laughing to herself and reading. And it's so nice to see someone read like that, like we used to as kids. So that's very valuable feedback for me as an author. And I hope many people in Belgaum read it and remember what Belgaum used to be.
So how did growing up in Belgavi surroundings encouraged to start working in adventure travel?
I think growing up in Belgaum in the 90s was kind of an adventure in itself. We had there are many beautiful places around Belgaum that you can go to on a Saturday or a Sunday. My dad would say, all of sitting around and watching Mahabharat and Spider-Man on Sunday, get into the car and we're going for a trek, or we're going to catch crabs, or we're going fishing. We're going to see this waterfall, and we would put on our boots and run out with him. And many parents I know in Belgaum are doing that, even today. And so it's exposed us to many kinds of adventure sport in many ways. A lot of nature. We're not scared of animals. We're not scared of nature. I see a lot of city kids today who are frightened of the stray dogs on the street, who will not jump into a river, who will not want to go swimming in the sea. We didn't. I think Belgaum kids don't have that. Like, we're quite comfortable dealing with the elements. Playing with other people's pets, playing with our own pets. Chasing frogs. Trying to climb trees. There was a lot of adventure in. There's a lot of adventure in growing up in a place like Belgaum, which you don't get in a city.
So, Mishana, talking about your father, Mr. Nitin Khoth, Dr. Nitin Khoth. So he is very humble person, and he has
Yes.
done a lot of things, may it be charity, or he has raised his voice in for the development of Belgavi, and then anything like it may be public issues. He has raised his voice always. So how that influenced you as an entrepreneur?
I think anything that my father does, he does it. He only does what he believes in. He doesn't believe in doing something for fake reasons, or if he doesn't have complete confidence in the cause that he is fighting for, he doesn't waste his time on it. He's a busy man, so he doesn't like to spend time on something that isn't close to his heart. And I think we've seen that as kids. All of us have imbibed that if you believe in something enough, you can, it gives you the strength to fight for it, even when the chips are down, even when you're having a bad day or a week. If you believe in it, that belief will bring you back. My dad does a lot of public, lot of things for public interest, for the good of the people. I don't think I'm doing it I'm not doing it in exactly the same style, but I do believe that what I am doing, adventure travel, I do believe that people should get out, could get into nature, get away from their apartments and their devices. And I believe quite strongly in that. And that is something that I am fighting for. That is a cause that's close to my heart. The books I'm writing, I believe that we should have more joy. We should be able to take more joy out of simple things, and we don't need to spend a lot of money, or we don't need to have expensive things to have joy. And the books reflect that. It's about the simple, cozy life, and so that is a cause that is close to me as well. And I think that is something that my dad has taught us. Just believe in yourself, and everything else, put in the hard work. It's not gonna be served to you on a plate, but if you believe and you put in the work, it'll come to you.
So, Mishana, could you please let us know how we could encourage entrepreneurship or startups and also innovation in Belgavi?
Yes, I would actually. I would love to see Belgaum becoming a hub of entrepreneurial activity, especially for the younger generation. I know there's a lot of business that's going on right now, but I think any startup needs certain facilities, certain basic things that a bigger company takes for granted. I think one way to encourage that would be to have incubators or business accelerators that a young startup entrepreneur can access. This could be just in terms of co-working spaces, so a startup doesn't have to rent a space if they don't need a non-stop space. So it could be co-working spaces. It could be something simple as access to lawyers, chartered accountants, just to
Yeah.
help them with their paperwork. There is a lot of paperwork involved in starting a company,
Yes.
and you need a lot of advice for it, and most of us don't know the ins and outs of the system. So I think access to that would make it a lot easier. It could be at a substantial discount to help a startup, especially a young startup. So that is one big thing that would help in Belgaum. I think most startups, most entrepreneurs, if you don't come from an IIM background or from a big business background, you may not have the connections you need or the alumni that you can reach out to for investment purposes, or just for guidance or mentoring or connections. I think maybe an organized system of investors in Belgaum, or mentors, business mentors, would help a lot for a startup. When they could come and get advice from different kinds of business owners, maybe present for a chance at investment. I think those things would help entrepreneurship quite a bit. It would help it anywhere, not just Belgaum.
Definitely setting up startup accelerators or incubators could help the college grads to, what is the potential of adventure travel in and around Belgavi?
I would say the potential is huge. We have great natural resources around. The geography of our location is wonderful. You know, we're high up in the Ghats. We've got waterfalls. We've got forests. We've got a lot of beautiful rivers around. There is already adventure, quite a big adventure scene in Karnataka. But I think the potential can only be tapped if it is a little bit more organized. If you have more people setting up camps over there, setting up, you know, campsites or rafting companies, or taking adventure trekking trips from the cities, you know, arranging transport, arranging guides. So the potential is there. It's just about, you know, people taking hold of, like, you know, harnessing that potential.
Okay. And Mishra, there are so many government projects which are coming up in and around Belgavi, which are, damaging the natural resources, or you can say they are they're damaging the forest resources. So how does that impact the adventure travel?
Anything that damages natural resources, I would say, it doesn't just impact adventure travel. It impacts everyone who lives around it. It impacts the ecosystem, the flora and the fauna of the region, and that in turn will have an impact on different businesses around. But obviously, for the adventure travel business, we're losing a location of, you know, where we that we could explore, or that we could take people to. But there is a conflict over there, that, you know, certain many of these projects are done for the development of the economical wellness of the region. So having an adventure travel company complain about that is not really something that they would take into consideration. You know, to be able to divert water or to build a dam, that is not something that an adventure travel company really can get in the way of. Um, if if i uh, if I were to suggest a way of working for the benefit of everyone around, it would be to bring in the experts to carry out the project in a way that does not impact the environment.
Yeah.
And you know, that would ensure that it's not just this adventure travel company excuse me, or you know, a short term impact is avoided, but for the coming years and the coming generations, that project benefits the economics of the region, and also the people and the environment.
So, Mishana, how can adventure travel support local employment opportunities and conservation of environment?
Well, that's a good question. Actually, a lot of our operators, I mean, almost all our operators hire local crew and local staff. There are many jobs as an adventure operator. There, obviously, you need qualified guides and first aid training to run a trip. But you also need
Yeah.
people who can, you know, run the logistics of a trip, maybe manage the office, you know, do the advertising and the sales and the marketing, actually accompany the team on the trip. You need drivers and porters and cooks and a whole range of staff for an adventure trip. And adventure companies usually hire from the local region, because that's where, you know, where you know the people who live there know the landscape, they know the weather, they understand the system, they know the language. So adventure companies, adventure operators in India are working very hard, not just for employment, but many of them, they also work very closely with the authorities for conservation. They, like,
Yeah.
if you look at Rishikesh, or if you look at any of these places, they are focused on, you know, preserving the cleanliness of the surroundings, preserving the river. Many operators do cleanup drives, where, you know, where people can visit the area and focus on helping to clean up. Like, if there's a popular trek location, you will have people picking up behind them. They educate people on, you know, not littering or not playing music loud, or, you know, things like that. So I think adventure operators are doing a lot for the environment and for
Okay.
local employment.
Okay. So, thank you so much, Mishana, for joining us today and sharing your startup journey with us.
Sure, sure. It's been
On behalf
great
of
talking to you, Harish.
So on behalf of KNN team, I wish you good luck for your future endeavors.
Thank you so much. I wish you guys all the best as well.